Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Graves into Gardens 562. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I told you guys in my last episode, I have my sister here with me today, Layla.
Hello.
Say hi, Layla. I want to share a little bit about Layla. She is a mother of two boys, a teenager and one that's going to be a teenager next year. She is going to be a mother to another baby boy, so we're so excited for baby boy Padilla to join the family. What else can I say about my sister? She's awesome. I love her. I'm grateful for her. I am so grateful that she is doing this with me. Like I said in the episode before, it takes a lot of courage to do this, and I commend her for that, and I thank you for being my first guest.
Welcome, sister.
I love that.
So guys, like I shared, we are going to talk about the day that we confronted our abuser, which was on Father's Day of last year, 2021. So the episode today is entitled Father's Day. There it is. So we want to give you guys a brief backstory on why it led to what happened on Father's Day. The way that what I mentioned in the previous episode was that the person who abused us was somebody that came and lived with our family. They had come from Peru. They had nowhere to go. So my family, my parents, let them into our house, and he was a cousin, and they came and they would live with us, and he took advantage. So we're going to kind of give a brief backstory, like I said, to what led to what happened, and I'm going to have Layla kind of kick us off.
Yes, so he was a cousin from Peru, and just a little Reader's Digest version of why they're related to us, unfortunately. So my mom and my dad had been separated for many years, and his brother came from Peru to
Our dad's brother.
Our dad's brother came from Peru to live here, and these are it was his kid, and then his sister, so they both are cousins. And my mom and my uncle began a romantic relationship.
And it might sound weird, but other people might think that it's weird, but this was our normal, and
yes,
we kind of had a telenovela life.
For sure.
So, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there, or somebody that's watching that can relate about our telenovela life. It was kind of telenovela.
Yes. So my mom and my uncle were in this romantic relationship, and it was his son that was the abuser. And leading into that, so my uncle has lived with us for many years, along with my dad in the same home. We were all just one big, extended, happy family.
Right.
And so my mom was in a relationship with him for 28 years, to be exact. As he got older, he did get sick. He started getting early onset Alzheimer's, and during this time, he actually caught COVID. So during COVID, he got extremely sick, very sick. He was bedridden. He was on hospice.
Yeah.
We thought he was, had weeks to live. While he was in the hospital, the doctors actually wanted to take him off life support. He was on a feeding tube, all of this. So the doctors wanted to have him just pass away naturally at the hospital.
But my mom was not having that.
Not at all. So being that she loved this man, she decided to take him home on hospice and care for him so that he could be surrounded by his family, which is us, and my kids, her kids. These are the only grandkids he's known for 28 years.
Yeah.
So he could be surrounded by family as he passes away. Which is natural. Anybody who loves anybody would not want them to die in a hospital alone. Because COVID, as you know, COVID, we had to go visit him through windows and say hello to him through a window. So she did bring him home. She was caring for him, like, completely. She was his full-time nurse, cleaning him, bathing him, cleaning his butt, changing his diapers, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And because we did think that he was going to pass away, Valerie was gracious enough to speak to my mom and tell her, hey, if you want his kids to come over and say their goodbyes, they should be able to. Because, if it was our father, we would also want to. And although we should have zero even remorse or grace for any of them.
Right.
We decided to say that it was okay
Mhm.
as long as we didn't have to run into him.
Yes.
Or see him or deal with him or anything like that. So my mom opened her doors for them to come and say their goodbyes and spend the last time that he had. And in this process, they were not gracious at all.
No.
We are going to not say names,
No.
but we will refer to them from here on out as Excrementina.
And Mojoncio.
Yes. So Excrementina came over every day to take care of my uncle, to help and feed him, just an occasional stop by. And in those times that she would come to the house, she was very rude.
Right.
She would verbally disrespect my mom.
Mhm.
We had video of this because we
Right.
had a camera for.
We ended up actually remember getting a video because my mom would tell us.
Yes.
Because there would be times when we would be there and
She was
she was polite. She wouldn't act up. But then the times that we weren't there, like a coward, because that's what cowards do, she would like verbally abuse my mom and just be extremely rude. So then we were just like, you know what, Mom, we probably need to put a camera so that we can catch that and just, show the judge, because as we're going to continue to share, she would lie, make up so many lies. But anyways, so we ended up putting a camera in there to see what she was doing, and she was definitely being very rude and yelling at my mom. It was not okay.
Saying she was demon possessed and unnecessary stuff to a woman who is being gracious enough to allow you into the home when she definitely didn't need to. So yes, she would definitely act up when we were not there, and unfortunately, because we are grown and have responsibilities and employment, we couldn't be there every time that she decided to come visit my mom. So the times that she was there, it would get a little out of control. She would, it would upset my uncle. So anyhow, because of this, they ended up getting into a verbal altercation at one point where she called my mom the B word. And that was where my mom drew the line. Yeah. She was like, not in my house, not up in here.
Not today. Not up in here.
And so she told her that she was no longer welcome, and that she just, she didn't want her coming over anymore. And because of this, his daughter, Excrementina, decided to open up a conservatorship. So she wanted to take her dad away from the family that he's known
for 28 years.
For 28 years.
And all of a sudden, she was interested in him.
Right. So she opened up a lawsuit, got a lawyer, and was filing for conservatorship. So we went through all this legal stuff, hearings after hearings. And the judge didn't give it to her. She got denied conservatorship.
Right.
But she was given visitation. So to avoid having her come into the house, my mom would let her see him at the doorstep because we didn't want her at the house.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed in the house anymore after she was verbally abusing her and acting a fool.
And my dad is 83 years old. My mom is well into her 60s.
Yes.
Sorry, Mom. Age out there. But us not being there all the time, we just couldn't risk her getting physical because in the past she had gotten physical with my mom. So just to avoid that, we made sure with the police that it was legal to just have them have visitation through the door. She didn't like that, obviously, because she's just a very difficult troll.
Problematic.
So she would come over and visit her dad through the doorway, but she didn't like that. So again, she tried to file for emergency conservatorship with a judge, the same judge. So we had to do another hearing. This time she was requesting visitation for herself and her brother. So we decided to attend that hearing. We wrote in our own, I don't know what it's called, like a motion or
I can't remember.
our own transcript
Right.
saying that We didn't want him in the home because he had abused us as children. We put in that, that she was verbally harassing my mom.
Yeah.
We said that we had video of this because we did.
Yeah.
And that judge granted both of them visitation, even knowing that we were abused by this man. He had the audacity
Yes, tell us what he said, please.
to ask, well, how old are you guys now? And how long ago was this? As if abuse disappears and the effect of abuse disappears after a certain amount of years. So clearly this judge does not have daughters or anything, because I think he would be very upset if somebody asked him, well, how long ago were your daughters abused, to get over it?
Right. As if you get over that and seeing him, like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yes. So she was not granted conservatorship in this hearing, but they were granted visitation, both her and the brother, even after the judge knew that we were abused by this man.
Right.
And my mom was just not having that. She was like, absolutely not. I will not have this man forced into my home.
No.
I will not have my daughters forced into seeing this person. So with much reluctancy, but because she obviously has love for her daughters, more than
right,
man that
more
she's
priority,
loved.
obviously.
Yes, she gave up conservatorship to Excrementina.
Yes, so she did not win the conservatorship.
Absolutely not.
She's out there maybe saying that she did not. My mom gave it up because she was not going to allow, like Layla said, the man that was abusing us into the house where he abused us.
Yes.
So yeah.
And in preparation of this hearing that she had, after she heard that we had video of her verbally abusing and harassing my mom, she, on Father's Day, came prepared to try and get video of us being the aggressors.
Yes.
And so she came over with this abuser and prepared with a camera attached to her shirt.
So guys, let me just tell you, this is where it's gonna start to get juicy because
all juicy. The tea is real.
Yes, so it is. So get your cup of tea ready and sit back because we're gonna talk about. So Layla's gonna just give her perspective of what happened because that day that on Father's Day of last year, I remember Hector and I went to go get the food that we were gonna have for dinner. And my sister was there already ahead of time with her husband and her kids. Mind you guys that was the day, Father's Day, so all of the men and the family were going to be there. So she knew what she was doing. So Layla's going to give her part of what happened because I wasn't there when they actually showed up. And then I'll jump in and let you guys know what happened when I showed up. And then we're just going to go back and forth from there. So go ahead. Tell us what happened, girl, when they got there. And I wasn't there, so please tell us.
Okay, so we showed up, we were waiting for them to arrive with the food, and then we see, I had seen a car parked in front, and I had recognized it as his car, but I was thinking, like, he would not have the audacity to show up today. But then they did have the audacity to show up. So they both walk up to the door wanting to see their father. So as we had already previously
discussed, this is the first Father's Day they've seen him in, 28 years maybe?
Yes, he's spent every single Father's Day, Christmas, everything with us, the family that he knows. So they show up, they walk up to the door wanting to see him, demanding to see him. So we, as we had previously talked to Long Beach police officers, we rolled him to the door. We did not want them into the home. And we told them that they would see him and speak to him through the door. But then I see that she had brought him. And so we were just like, yeah, he's definitely not coming into the house. So he was there for maybe 5 minutes, and then that's when Valerie and Hector show up. And they had to pass through them.
So I remember when we showed up, Hector was pulling up, and I was looking and I'm thinking, like, that's not them. There's no way that they're here on Father's Day. Like, they've never been here, and why would they be here today on this day? And I remember telling Hector, like, you know what? When we walk by them, just completely ignore them, pretend that they're not there. Like, just nobody's there. because I just didn't know what was going to happen. So I was just like, you know what? And my sister warns me, and she's like, hey, because Layla had already noticed that she had come with the body cam. And Layla's like, hey, just FYI, she has a body cam. And then I was like, what? So then, like, we ended up closing the door and going.
So we closed the door, and they're demanding to see their father, and not through a screen door, and we're trying to tell them, you know what, we've already told them.
So then I remember walking in and going through I opened the screen door, I came in, and then I closed it. I went to go put the food down, and then Layla started talking to her.
Yeah, so
Tell us
then,
what she said, or what
so
happened.
then I told her that her visitation was going to be through the screen door, that we had already talked to Long Beach Police Department, that they said that as long as we are not violating the order, which is that she is able to see her
Visit
dad,
him.
that was perfectly fine, and she was not happy with that. And
Because she just wanted to come into the house all the time.
Yes, she just wanted a reason to get her way and come into the
Yes.
house, but we were not going to allow that. So we started arguing through the screen door, and I was telling her your visitation is right there, and she was saying absolutely not, absolutely not. Then I started telling him that I couldn't believe he was even there. Like, why did you bring him? We started getting very loud. That's when I think you came back to the screen, and we were just arguing between the screen door and then that's when I was telling everybody, you know, calm down, because this is what she wants.
Right.
She has her
exactly
camera
what she
recording.
wanted.
So that was that, and we were just arguing verbally back and forth. Then that's when I feel my husband yanking me. And I was thinking that he was pulling me back so that I wouldn't argue, and because I was really upset. And he was like pulling me, and so I was telling him, like, babe, I'm fine, you know, don't pull me. And in one of those, he just gives me a big yank, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he thinks that he's trying to prevent me from fighting or something. But then he opens the door and rushes out, and because my husband is not a fan of this man, and he's never been a fan of him, obviously, because of what he did to his wife.
Yes.
And he told me that, you know, the day that he saw him, he was going to beat the living excrement out of him. So he was not happy. So then he rushes out the door.
And I do remember that part, and I'm pulling him. I'm trying to pull him, and I'm yelling for Hector. I'm like, babe!
Yes.
Because like she said, this is exactly what this woman wants, is
Absolutely.
to see somebody get physical. She wanted to catch that on camera, and it wasn't going to happen that day because these guys are not physical people. They're not violent people, you know? But this is what she wanted. So I remember her husband did storm out there, and I remember pulling on Jesus, and he was like an ox just going through.
Yes, he had Valerie, my mom, me, like trying to hang on to him. So he confronts him face to face, and the guy, you know, because he got so close to him, he like kind of just pushes him back a little bit through his chest. And so my husband's like, push me again, because in his head he's like, well, if he takes the first punch, you know, then at this point it's self-defense. And then he's like yelling at him, and he's like, you like to touch little girls, like come and touch me. And and so as he's like confronting him, this is when I turn and I see him, and this man has a smirk on his face, and he's like, he's loving it because he's getting all the reaction that his sister was wanting.
It's horrible.
And
These are evil people.
Yes, and so this smirk just set me off, and I knew that I could not physically hurt him because I was not going to assault somebody on camera, first of all.
She was
but
not going to catch a case.
Absolutely not. And so this is the point that just set me off, and I started laying into him, and I was like, you know what? I cannot believe that you have this smirk on your face. You molested me when I was 5 years old, and you're going to come here to the house that you did it in and with a smirk on your face and deny it.
Yes.
And I was like livid, and it felt great to be able to yell at his face, but at the same time, I wanted to punch him because he was smirking, and I'm like, how dare you?
Exactly.
How dare you?
So I remember that moment, you guys, when she did that, because I was sharing with her earlier about how when she yelled that out to him and told him, like, I cannot believe that you have the nerve to be here, you know, and she told him, you molested me when I was 5 years old. And I was telling her earlier in the room that at that moment when she did that, like everything that she said was in like normal speed, but I could hear her saying that in normal speed, but everything else was in slow motion, I remember. And at that moment I was just like, she's saying that out loud, and there's people out here. And I remember feeling like almost ashamed about it that she was doing that. But then as soon as she finished yelling that, I was like, you know what? We have nothing to be ashamed of. He should be embarrassed. And as soon as she finished saying that you molested me when I was 5, it gave me so much courage to just yell it out to him. And I said, and you molested me when I was 10. And like she was saying, he had that smirk on his face, just like smirking, like, and just nodding his head, denying it. But then we told him, you know what? Deny it all you want, but the police are on their way because we reported you and they're coming.
Yep.
And then I don't remember how much she remembers of it, but then I remember like my brother ended up pulling up because a lot of stuff was going in slow motion, guys. Like almost if you guys have ever been in a car accident, I know a lot of times, like right when you get the impact, for some reason everything seems slow, and that's exactly what was happening at this time. So I remember my brother pulls up. I see my brother like pulling up. And then like I look away for a little bit, and then I look again, and my brother is in his face all of a sudden.
And my brother is not confrontational at all. He's very mellow, if you know him. And yeah, I was shook that he rushed up to him so fast. Because I really thought that he was just gonna, walk by all the chaos and go into the house, because he does not like anything like that, any drama. But he didn't even park his car. Like he left his car in the middle of the street because he saw all the commotion that was going on with he saw that they were there. Yeah. And he literally left his car in the middle of the street and went, and as soon as I looked away, I looked again, he was in this dude's face. Yes, and he is a big guy, so for him to move this quickly, he was on a mission. Yes. So we also had to pull him back and, remind everybody. I was like yelling, like, this is exactly what she wants. Yes. Do not give her this. And, reminding them that she had a camera. And so, but we did tell him, like, good, perfect, stay here because the police are on their way. We have an open case against you. And, just stay here. Good. Stay here. Please stay. And this coward, this piece of excrement, decided to leave and rushed away and drove away before the police got here. Like the coward that he is. Right. And then to his sister and the sister's boyfriend, we were like, exactly. He does not want to stay because he knew what he did. He knows what he did, and he knows the police are on their way, and he is running scared. And so he ended up leaving. We ended up confronting the sister also, again, telling her, like, you know what this man did. And I had previously spoken to his sister and told her and cried to her and told her, this is what your brother did to me. And she acted and she was like, she started crying as well and saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you, and I had no idea. And she has daughters of her own, so I was like, you can just imagine, like, what if this would have happened to your daughters? Right. So she was totally, I don't know if it was real or fake, but she was so remorseful on his behalf. But then this day, she's just like, well, I don't know if I believe you. And then she started speaking to my sister, and then had the nerve to say, well, I don't believe you, but I believe you. Yeah. So it's your story. She believes one of us, which doesn't make any sense at all. Right. And but it felt amazing to be able to shout in his face and tell him, this is what you did to us, and you know it. Yeah. And he ran, after we told him that the police was on their way, because the guilty flee when no one pursues them. So we all know that's why he was running away. Sister, I'm so grateful that you yelled that out to him when you did, because it gave me so much courage to just tell him the truth and to tell him our truth. Yes. Which was that he did abuse us when we were little girls. And at that moment when you did that, like I said earlier, it gave me so much courage to just tell him. And it made me remember some words that my therapist had told me, which was that I don't need to be ashamed, that we do not need to be ashamed about
what he did to us, because it was him who did it, so he should be ashamed. So that second that you did that, girl, it motivated me and it gave me the courage, and I'm so grateful that you did that.
Yes.
I love you.
Love you too, sister.
So guys, we are going to actually have a part 2 of this episode because the battery is running out and we want to cut it. So unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it. But we, I want to share with you guys actually what our what the part 2 is going to be about. In part 2, we're going to be discussing the whole, actually why we didn't tell or disclose what happened to us to the police. And then we're going to talk about how once we did disclose it, the whole process of it and the outcome of it.
We'll share a little bit about the process without giving too much away, the outcome, and yeah, can't wait.
So we can't wait to be back, and thank you guys again for joining us, and tune in for part 2. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.